The Admiral's hand trembled slightly as he raised his glass at the retirement ceremony. Across the polished oak table sat Commander James Mitchell, a weathered man whose eyes held stories deeper than any ocean. They'd been making small talk, exchanging the usual pleasantries that filled such occasions, when the Admiral asked the question that pilots always asked each other. "So, Commander, what was your call sign back in the day?" James paused, his fingers tightening around his own glass. The room seemed to grow quieter, though the chatter around them continued unchanged. "Ghost 5, he said softly. The Admiral's face drained of color. His glass hit the table harder than intended, amber liquid sloshing over the rim. For a moment he couldn't speak. Ghost 5. That name had haunted him for 37 years. If you've ever heard a name that changed everything you thought you knew, you'll understand what happened next. Drop a comment below and tell us about a moment when the past came rushing back to you. It was you, the Admiral whispered. December 9th, 1988. Over the Pacific. James nodded slowly, recognition dawning in his eyes. You were Falcon Lead. The Admiral's mind raced back to that day, to the mission that should have killed him. His plane had taken enemy fire, engines failing, spinning toward the dark water below. He'd been 23 years old, certain he was going to die. Then out of nowhere, another aircraft had appeared. The pilot had guided him, talked him through every impossible maneuver, stayed with him for 40 agonizing minutes until he could limp back to the carrier. The radio had been damaged. All he'd heard through the static was a call sign, Ghost 5. When he'd landed safely, shaking and alive, he'd tried to find the pilot who'd saved him. But Ghost 5 had vanished. No record of the aircraft, no flight plan matching that location. Some said it was a malfunction in his damaged radio, that he'd imagined the whole thing in his panic. Others whispered it was something else, something unexplainable. They told me you'd gone down 2 weeks before my mission, the Admiral said, his voice breaking. They said your entire squadron was lost. There was a memorial. James smiled, though sadness filled his expression. I was lost in a way. Separated from my unit, radio dead, fuel running on fumes. I was trying to find my way back when I spotted your plane. I knew I probably didn't have enough fuel to make it home after helping you, but I couldn't leave you out there. How did you survive? Barely. Made an emergency landing on a small island. Took them 3 days to find me. James looked down at his hands. I heard later that a young pilot made it home safely that day. I always wondered if it was you. The Admiral stood abruptly, walked around the table, and embraced the older man. Around them, the room fell silent, witnesses to something they couldn't fully understand but felt deeply nonetheless. Thank you, the Admiral whispered. Thank you for my life, for my children, for everything I've had these 37 years. James held him tightly. You'd have done the same, son. That's who we are. Sometimes the people who save us never ask for recognition. They act because it's right, because in that moment another person's life matters more than their own. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And remember, we all have the power to be someone's Ghost 5. Subscribe to hear more stories that remind us of the heroes walking among us, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment that could change how you see the world.